You could be dead in 5 years. Like, you actually could be dead in 5 years. But on the other hand, you could be a millionaire in 5 years, thriving with abundance in your life, like everything that you've ever wanted. Both things are possible. And that's just the nature of life. Life is uncertain. You can never know what's going to happen. Like, sure, you can never have 100% certainty that this is going to happen. Unless you're saying the sun's going to rise tomorrow morning. But you actually can never have 100% certainty that the sun will rise tomorrow morning. The world could end. Like, a meteor could hit the world and then it all blows up. I'm not saying this to instill any fear in you, but it's to just hammer home the fact that life is uncertain. And I struggled with this a lot, the fact that life was uncertain. Because perhaps it's just how I am. I like to know things. I like to plan things in advance. I like to know exactly where I'm going to be. And after taking an unconventional route, not going to uni, choosing to pursue building online business, just to be guided by my creativity, right? The nature of this path is uncertainty. I can be doing this and I'm like, you know what, let me do that. And I could just be changing the things I'm doing. It's like I'm trailblazing for myself. Not many people have done what I'm going to do. So it's like there's a pressure, there's the uncertainty of simply not knowing if you're going the right way, but just trusting in yourself. And I struggled with that. And that uncertainty, because I struggled with it, was paralyzing. Like, I would wake up, I'll be so anxious, worried about, is the things I planned today, are they the right things I should be doing? Am I going down the right direction? Are things going to work out? Am I going to be left behind by my friends? These were all thoughts that I'll be having. Because my friends, they'll be in uni, they have like a set curriculum, and they know that this, and that's going to lead me this, thing, and there. I have a plan, don't get me wrong, but it's like life is uncertain. And I can't even say I've tackled this problem. But when it does occur, I've found ways to mitigate it. Because it happens like every few months. Like, I'll just have a week, 2 weeks, where the anxiety is just crippling. Like, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, where am I going to end up? Perhaps a lot of that anxiety is due to the pressure I put on myself, but that's not the point. The point is dealing with uncertainty, accepting that, life is uncertain. And this was very hard for me to do, but I've done it. And in this video, I'm going to help you do it as well. So the first step to dealing with uncertainty is debunking the idea that things have to be certain, that you have to know everything that's going on. See, the way we were brought up in schools and whatnot, we were told what we'd be studying in October when it was January. We were told what we'd be doing in Form 4, like 4 years from like the point we were at that time. We were told everything. So there was like a certain certainty about school. Like, you knew that at this time you're going to be doing that. You knew that by the time you're 18, you're going to be doing this. You'd probably be doing those subjects. So there was a certainty in your life. You couldn't predict it 100%, but there was a certainty. And now that we've left school, or if you haven't left school, you're going to experience it. Now that you've left school, you're exposed to the world and all its opportunities and all its possibilities. And now, you don't know. The only thing you know is that you do not know. You don't know where you will be in 5 years. Like, obviously you can work, but you truly don't know. In accepting and embracing uncertainty, it's not saying don't have goals, because people will be like, if things are going to be uncertain, so why should I plan for the future? I'm not saying that. Have goals, have ambitions, and have a destination. And go to that destination. If you have a destination in your mind that you want to get to, and you truly want to get to it, you will get to it. But where the uncertainty lies is like how you're going to get to it, when you're going to get to it, what it's going to look like when you get to it. You don't know and you can't really control it. It's like, let's say I live in Harare, right? And I want to go to like flipping Bulawayo. It's like a 4-hour drive, right? So wherever you're from, which city you're from, just imagine a place that's like 4 hours away. You have the destination in mind and you have sort of like the routes that you're going to take, the path, the roads that you're going to take. But whenever you're driving on these road trips, you're never thinking about turns. Turns.
TJ!
10 turns in advance. You're never thinking about, what am I going to do 2 hours from now? You're focusing on the road you're on and probably the next turn. And even though you have an idea of like the way to get to your city to another city, it's like you're not rigid. On that journey, there could be a road that's blocked, forcing you to take a detour, which will make the journey an extra 30 minutes, Or there could be a new road that was built, making the journey an hour shorter. You don't know. What you're focusing on the next step, and making sure that the next step that you take, the next decision you make, is the best one you can make in that moment. So in the same way in life, you may know sort of like the path that you're supposed to take, but the path is different for all people. Let's say you're trying to achieve the exact same things that someone else has achieved. You're not going to do the same things as them. You can still achieve the same things they have achieved, but then it will be different for you. You're going to have to do different things. So in the same way in life, like using that road analogy where you're only focusing on the road you're on and perhaps the next turn. In life, you don't need to know everything. And I'm speaking to myself when I say this. I'm speaking to myself 6 months prior to today. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to know exactly where you're going to be. You don't need to be certain about the future. You just need to know your next step. And I used to play a lot of video games, so when I use this analogy, it really hits home. When you're playing GTA, right? The first day of GTA on the map, like the map is this small, like it's tiny. But then as you carry on exploring the map, as you go in a certain direction, that map opens up and you see more things in the map. And you're like, oh, flip. Okay, now that I can see more, I can see that this is the best step to take next. And that's the same way with life. You can't expect to have the whole road mapped out when you haven't even read a book in 10 years. Like you can't. You can't expect to see the journey that you're going to take that's going to get you from having nothing to having 2 million when you haven't even started. Does that make sense? To be able to see the whole journey before you've even started. Like it doesn't make sense, but somehow we have this belief that things should be certain. Or maybe it's not even a belief. It's just this subconscious expectation that, you know what, things should be certain and I'm not going to start until things are certain. You start planning for things 10 years ahead. Like what? 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 I've probably said it by now. So the way you deal with uncertainty is accept that you're not supposed to know everything. You're not supposed to be certain about your future. The nature of this universe is uncertainty for us. God knows everything that's going to happen, but for us, it's uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen 2 hours from now. You could be in somewhere where it doesn't rain and it could start raining. Like you could. You don't know. So when dealing with uncertainty, you just have to tell yourself that, you know what, I don't have to know. And of course, the first time you tell yourself it's not going to change, you're still going to be anxious. But after telling it to yourself for a month, consistently saying, no, it's okay, life is uncertain. Just because life is uncertain doesn't mean I have to panic. Everything, or my life was uncertain when I was 10 years old. Now that I'm 20 years old, my life is still uncertain. But I'm 20 and I'm fine. I'm alive, I'm healthy. I may not have as much money as I want, but I'm fine, right? So you will probably still be fine even though life is uncertain right now. Pretty much just accept that life is uncertain and embrace it. See, when you embrace that life is uncertain, it actually gets exciting. Like, for me, it's exciting that life is uncertain. Like, I could be a graphic designer 5 years from now. I could be a fashion designer. I could be a flipping accountant. Like, it's so exciting. And I think the reason why it's exciting is because I'm constantly trying to improve myself. So I know that amidst the uncertainty, where I'll end up in the future is probably better than where I am now. So even though I don't know where I'll be, it probably is better. I think I went on a rant, a huge rant. I got emotional because, like, I'm looking at the camera, but I was imagining I was just talking to myself 6 months ago. Because if I told myself this 6 months ago, I would have saved literally a lot of hours. I would have had more hours to work. Because as I said, it was crippling. Like some mornings, I would be in this bed that you can see behind me, right? The bed that has absolutely no action. It's actually, okay, I'm not going to say that, but this bed, I would wake up, and you wake up, you have 3 seconds of bliss, then, bah, the crippling anxiety, and I'll just be in my bed like this, when you're curled up in like that C shape, and I'll just be anxious, because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if the things I was doing were the right things for me to be doing. I was going through a very dark time. And if only I knew this 6 months ago. And perhaps, like, to finish off, I think it's easier for religious people to deal with uncertainty because we hold the belief that God's will is better than our own, because God created the universe, so obviously He knows what's best for us. Like to think that we know what's best for ourselves when there's a God, an all-knowing God out there, it's actually quite foolish. When things don't go our way, we will be like, you know what, it's God's will, God knows what's better. The best is always yet to come with God. And yeah, the best is always yet to come. I wasn't planning on saying the best is always yet to come, but it's exactly what I needed to hear right now. I don't know if you guys realize that these videos are for me. As much as they are for you, right? They're for me as well. The best is yet to come. But anyways, that's pretty much all I have to say about dealing with uncertainty. It's not going to be like a quick fix, like you're good at dealing with uncertainty. It'll be something that you have to tell yourself for weeks, maybe even months, that you know life is meant to be uncertain. If you're watching up until this point and you want just more intimate sessions, but if you want to talk to me, have a one-on-one coaching call, the first link in the description, it will take you to a Calendly website, and you'll be able to book an appointment, book a time slot where we can have a one-on-one coaching session. So yeah, I look forward to talking to many of you, and I'll see you in the next video.